I had to select a movie for this round, and I wanted to do something philosophical, so I was kind of thinking of there are a lot of philosophical movies, but specifically scenes that kind of made me open up. I had to go for like kind of sci-fi and mind kind of stuff, and eventually I went with Ghost in the Shell. My second option was Blade Runner, which have you seen Blade Runner? Oh well. I think Ghost in the Shell touches on similar themes, but Ghost in the Shell, I think, is better because it's criminally underrated, first of all. And part of the reason is because it's an animated film, so everybody has massive prejudices over it. It's sad that we still have this, but it's true. Ghost in the Shell actually inspired, I think, Blade Runner and also The Matrix, first of all. A lot of the stuff in The Matrix is taken from Ghost in the Shell, like even the iconic green polylines, that's Ghost in the Shell, and the like plug they have on their neck, that's Ghost in the Shell, and the whole simulated reality stuff, which is what we're getting to. So yeah, Ghost in the Shell is basically set in the future where technology has advanced so much that there are cybernetics. People's body parts are slowly being replaced by machines,
Mm.
and the main character is a woman who's she is a well, I don't remember the term, but she is the ghost in the shell. Basically, she's all cybernetic except for her brain, which is just encased in uh, a cyber thing, whatever, and it has access to the internet, and it's all very cybernified.
Mm.
And it seems normal. It seems like wow, this is cool, as you're going on. But then, in this scene when they basically capture a guy who's been doing terrorist attacks, and well, it turns out he's just been being manipulated, as you'll see. But you kind of see firsthand the like pretty weird results, the scary results that you get from this kind of technology, which when you're watching the film at first, you don't really think about because you're just like kind of amazed by the way the technology works, and it kind of like
Mm.
catches you in that moment.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sure there'll be a lot to speak of afterwards.
Well, as you can see, William is bringing in my sci-fi audience because I have very limited knowledge in the sci-fi uh, field. So I look forward to this. I'm gonna pull it up.
Yes, everybody should watch Ghost in the Shell. You first, Ethan.
Experience again? Well, all your memories about your wife and daughter are false. They're like a dream. Someone's taken advantage of you. They were trying to make you ghost hack into some government officials. Do you understand what I'm saying?
But that can't be. I've been to your home. It's a bachelor's apartment. No one's there.
But I already told you, I rented that room when I separated from my wife.
I checked the records. You've been living there over 10 years. The truth is, you've never had a wife or kid. Like he said, they aren't real. They're a simulated experience, a fantasy.
Look, this is the photo you showed to your coworker. Who do you see?
I had a picture of her. She was there. She was smiling like an angel.
What's her name? How old is she? Where'd you meet your wife and when did you marry her? I'm sorry to put you through this, pal. Come on. Who do you see?
If this is all a lie, what happens? Will I get my old memory back?
Your original memory will never be fully restored, and there might be residual simulation. We don't have the technology yet to handle Cymex erasures. I'm sorry.
That's all it is. Information, even a simulated experience or a dream, is simultaneous reality and fantasy. Any way you look at it, all the information that a person accumulates in a lifetime is just a drop in the bucket.
All right, so take me through this clip.
So yeah, well, yeah, it's pretty disturbing, as you might imagine. Um, so the main thing is we're used to seeing kind of loss, grief. You lose your wife and kids and all that. Very sad. But what's even weirder in this moment is that not only have you lost them, but they never even existed in the first place. Like I think the it would be difficult. It would be interesting to see how they handle it in live action. But I think with the animation, the face they have of the guy is is very telling. It's just like a blank face kind of shock, but it's like it doesn't even like know what to do for him. And the point he makes as well is that his daughter is his life. He has like his identity, his sense of self, like comes from his family and everything, and that's literally just been hacked and taken away. And it raises the question, like what even is it the same person? Is he dead? Like was he? What has he been going through? Can we realistically call this guy the same guy who was before his memory was hijacked? And as the captain says afterwards, it's just there's this fantasy and reality just kind of coincide as one. I mean, it was real to him, and yeah, I mean, I think that's the interesting thing from the interesting topic of the clip is just the concept of the self and how memories should play a big part in the concept of the self. So it would seem, but we can manufacture these. The other scene I was considering doing is Blade Runner, which touches on a similar kind of thing. Again, there are these replicants who are fake humans, which are implanted with memories, and kind of I think the moral of that story at the end is sort of that memory. It doesn't matter, if you are actually human or if you're made or artificial or whatever, as long as you have memories, that's kind of what defines you, and that's what gives you moral worth and personhood and all that. But I think Ghost in the Shell goes clearly a lot deeper in that because even memories can just be completely falsified, and your entire sense of self is just gone from that.
I like the title Ghost in, is it Ghost in the Shell or Ghost in Shell?
Ghost in the Shell. Yeah, so the
Ghost in the
ghost is
Shell.
what they refer to as consciousness, the soul, basically.
I
And
like
the main character is a ghost in the shell. The shell is like the robotic, the cybernetic part. It's the ghost in the shell.
I like that because it's like um you're talking about like how you derive meaning and your character and your own identity from others and your interactions with others and your experiences with them and your feelings for them. Um, and it's like, well, when you're stripped of all of that and all of those connections and all of those other people and realities, when you're stripped of all of that, then it is like, who are you? What does it mean to be the self? And I think the ghost in the shell like conveys this like, oh, you're hollow, right? Like there's very little um it's very hard to define yourself or having any kind of identity when you're just in isolation from everybody else. And more specifically, when you've had, like, I guess it's one thing to have had experiences with real people, but it's another, and then go to like not having those experiences and be in complete isolation. But it's another thing to like never have had any of those experiences or have any of those connections. That's I mean like, you know, they say like solitary confinement, right? Makes people go mad and crazy.
Yeah, it's a form
And
of torture.
right, and they can, kill themselves in it. Like very often they do. Um and part of that, right, I think is like, okay, you need other people to interact with, like um it's just a source of like pleasure and friendship, whatever. But I think another part of it is like you get so much of your meaning and so much of uh your identity from who you're reflected by, like your reflection from the people around you, the connections you have to the people around you. So when you have none of that and there's nothing to kind of for you to reflect off of, to say, who am I? Um, then you can, I mean, there's two options. Either one, you do like some deep Descartes meditations and figure out, like who you really are in the inside, whatever that means. But the second option is like
I mean, that doesn't get you anywhere. It's only like you can only realize that you exist, right? But that's not really like,
right,
okay, I exist, but who am I? What does that mean?
right. And then the second option, right, is like you said, you realize there's nothing there. And you're
Yeah,
like,
that's the Buddhist route.
right. But, that's not so easy for some people to accept,
Yeah,
that I
definitely.
am nothing.
Yeah, well, it's interesting what you were saying. It is related to some concepts that I think about are also related more in the movie. As I was saying, the main character, her body parts and her brain as well is getting slowly replaced by machine parts. It's a sort of um, it's a sort of mind ship of Theseus mind version, where it's like everything's slowly getting replaced, and what happens to the identity of the person before we don't really know. Of course, a lot of consciousness theories in philosophy, like functionalism, would say it's all right. You can get even your entire brain replaced as long as the function still remains. But one of the more interesting things in philosophy of mind that I did at least was like the extended mind. So the idea that your mind can actually go outside of your brain, like physical things can count as part of your mind. And in the case of the main character, obviously, like her brain is connected to the internet, so a lot of that can be considered, it can definitely be outside the confines of the brain. But like you could even suggest that in a more real way that, as you're saying, a sense of self is intimately tied to the connections we form with other people. It's entirely possible that, the self and the mind and the consciousness kind of expands outside to other people as well.
Yeah.
And that kind of is part of the equation.
I mean, I think in the same way that you need a mirror in order to see yourself physically, I think in a lot of ways you need or you rely on other people just to figure out who you are from a character perspective, from a personality perspective, like from an internal side of you. You look toward other people to say, okay, like who actually am I? Because when you're like alone and you don't have that, you're kind of have this like, okay, but like what am I really like? What does my voice really sound like, right? Like, um, am I like really funny or am I not really funny? You know, uh, do I, get angry or do I not get angry? Do I have a temper or
Yeah,
do
yeah,
I not have a temper? And you have nothing to say like one way or the other. You have no idea.
yeah. Well, back to the scene, and we were saying that, yeah, the guy's life kind of becomes meaningless, just in his sense, um, because his entire like worldview, his entire self, has just collapsed in front of him. There's just nothing he can do about it. They can't even like delete the memories. All right, he's just stuck with it forever. And I mean, what are you even supposed to do at that point? You're like, there's nobody to mourn. There's nobody to mourn with because these people weren't real. Nobody will remember them. There's nothing you can do. And man, that score as well in the scene is very haunting. Um, they have that movie has a very unique score, I guess, with lots of weird just dong sounds.
Well, that's something to talk about for another time. We certainly always invite music on the show, music discussions on the
Yeah,
show. So, all right, guys, subscribe, do that thing, hit the like button, share it with friends, and make it happen. And and if you want to be a part of this and want to potentially discuss a movie scene or song or news article and have one in mind, you can do that by contacting me on the contact me page, which is in the description, and we can set something up. So hopefully you do that, you're interested, and we can get as many people on this as possible. So yeah, that's all I have to say. And buenas noches.